My good friend, neighbor, and the editor and poster of all these blogs suggested that I talk about the emphasis the Old Testament and even to some extent the New Testament makes on fearing God. You see, it's always bothered me that that's so prevalent in the Bible, and because certainly it doesn't fit my concept of God. I love God. I feel close to God, but I don't fear Him. I don't think He's going to strike me down dead or anything like that. I just don't. So it was really interesting. So I took him up on it, but I thought before I start saying or doing anything, I should really make sure I understand the context in which these references to fearing God take place. So I did some research on good old Google, and much to my surprise and edification, like most words, the word fear has a lot of different meanings, particularly in the ancient Hebrew or Greek. It's very interesting. You ought to Google it sometimes and just see. It's just really fascinating to look at words and their origin and where they come from. But at any rate, fear, yes, definitely can mean things like terror and all that. Not good things. But it also means respect, reverence. And so if you look at the word fear and how it's used in the Bible, the context in which it's used in the Bible, I don't see people cowering out of abject terror of God. I think that the reference is much more one of respecting God, having reverence for God, and that makes a whole lot more sense to me. Now, the reason I'm bringing all this up is because in reflecting on that, it really struck me that in many ways the Old Testament and the New Testament reflect what's gone on in management. Yeah, those of you that have been with me for a while know that I have taught management for about 30 years at Florida State, and it's something that's quite important to me. I really believe in modern enlightened management, if you look at the history and development of management, management really started out at the turn of the century when the Industrial Revolution took place. It was what we call a carrot and stick approach to management. You either beat them over the head or you give them a prize for doing what you want them to do. But the whole assumption behind that, we call it Theory X, was that people basically didn't have any brains. You had all the brains, you in management. And your job was to get them to do what you had decided they should do. And they didn't have anything to do other than just brute labor. And so this began to change when the Hawthorne, I've mentioned the Hawthorne studies before at Western Electric, where they studied the impact of lighting on this work group. And it was really interesting because they modified the lighting and then they asked people what they thought and so forth. And productivity went up markedly. Well, they thought this was because of the lighting, but the more they looked into it, the more they thought there was something else afoot. And what they found out in talking to the employees again was that the employees were pleased. That somebody came and asked them their opinions about something. They did have ideas, they had thoughts, and the fact that somebody would actually listen to those thoughts was really remarkable. And as you know, when I talked about total quality management, a lot of the people involved in that study went on to become leaders in the whole total quality management movement and the evolution of modern management. So, today, modern management takes a whole different approach, recognizing that the most important assets you have in any workforce are your people. and that they are a tremendous resource. And the idea of management is not to get them to do what you want them to do, but to involve them in the whole process so that we together get what we need to get done. And it's just a whole lot better kind of management. And the spiritual aspect of that to me has always been, in fact, I wrote a book, The Spiritual Style of Management. The whole concept there is really a spiritual concept. It's one of respect, openness, listening to people, empowering people, all kinds of things, which if you really look at them, those are spiritual concepts. And I guess that's why I really enjoyed teaching those classes for all those years, because it really is very congruent with my own spiritual journey. And so I don't think the writers of the Old Testament were really talking about abject fear in a sense of terror. Now, I think they were thinking about God and reverence for God, respect for God, recognizing who God is, and having the humility to know who we are. And we are here to do God's will, yes, but not out of terror, but out of reverence and respect for what He's calling us to do. And that's all I try to do, one day at a time, is to do what I judge He's calling me to do. And so I hope this is helpful. I'm thinking a little bit about the relationship of the Old Testament and the people of that time to God. And because it really helped me to look into it much deeper than I had before. It also tells me, be careful of words. I've talked about words before too, because you've got to be really careful about words and really make sure that you fully understand the context and meaning in this particular situation of these words.